In Parmigiani, we believe that you can reinvent the wheel. You can do something that is new. You have to have ideas and go for that. So this is the last year's world premiere, the GMT Rattrapante. That was the watch of the fair last year, and it's a timepiece that tells the time of your home time when you're traveling. But when you're at home, you just have a two-hander, so it's very elegant, it's very discreet, and
Correct.
it's a philosophy of discretion and simplicity to use. For the second function that we are introducing today, which is a totally unprecedented function. We call it Minute Rattrapante. Okay,
Minute Rattrapante.
It's a function that doesn't exist.
Okay.
Rotor, which is the father of the collection. No? So this, you see the consistency of the aesthetics. This has no function, just the date. This is a GMT. And this is a Minute Rattrapante. Okay.
Have you noticed any change in the customer in the last 2 years?
More and more younger people who are into this, and
So you're saying the younger people are
Yes,
more and more who want to be discreet and
yes,
not be
yes.
up.
Here, the GMT Rattrapante last year, in 1 year, took 7 times the demand. The demand is 7 times of what we had launched in production. So. This is the last year's world premiere, the GMT Rattrapante. That was the watch of the fair last year, and it's a timepiece that tells the time of your home time when you're traveling. But when you're at home, you just have a two-hander, so it's very elegant, it's very discreet, and
Correct.
it's a philosophy of discretion and simplicity to use that we have kept for the second function that we are introducing today, which is a totally unprecedented function. We call it Minute Rattrapante. Okay,
Minute Rattrapante.
it's a function that doesn't exist.
Okay.
And you know that in Parmigiani we believe that you can reinvent the wheel. You can do something that is new. You have to have ideas and go for that. So you have the same philosophy. So a two-hander watch without any function appearing until you need it, and it's very consistent with the Rotor, which is the father of the collection. No? So this. You see the consistency of the aesthetics. This has no function, just the date. This is a GMT. And this is a Minute Rattrapante. Okay. Here you have no push buttons because you don't have any function. Here you have only one. Here you have 2 push buttons that you need to have for a flawless use of this function. So what is this function? So let's say we have another 15 minutes together. Let's see we finished your meeting at quarter past. Okay. So I push this button, and you advance the function 5 minutes at a time. Then you have a fine tuning of 1 minute on top, and you get to the moment in which we have to stop because I have another interview after.
Yeah.
So I can see at a glance how much time I have with you, and then with the gloves it's a bit
It
difficult.
becomes tricky.
Yeah. So the time is elapsing. No, and you get to the moment in which our time is over. And then I said, well, we're still having a nice discussion. I can give you 2 or 3 minutes. So I master the delay. And then when it's over, we say goodbye, and you just press here and the watch. So
okay.
this is a function that you can use for anything. For you have a plane to catch, you're in the lounge, you're reading your mails, you want to set the moment if you have to remember at this minute I have to go to the gate, and it's a function like this.
It's like an alarm that you set in your mobile, but it's not having a sound.
It's not having a sound. The
But
alarm usually it's on the hour, so you set it there fixed. But here
It's on a minute.
Yes, and it's on a minute. Very easy to use because let's say you're cooking a pasta al dente and you want to give another minute because you tasted it, and you just push a minute forward, and that's it. And you remember that you have.
But how do you set the minute if you have to set the minute? Say, for example, you just set
5 minutes at a time. And then
Oh,
you have
fine.
the fine tune. If we didn't do 5 minutes, you would have only 1 minute. You have to push plenty of
that's what
times.
I wanted to
It's just to be easy to use. No, so the 5 minutes is a fast-moving hand,
And the
then
top pusher is for setting further.
Yes.
If it is 6 minutes.
it's a
7
fine-tuning of 1 minute.
1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute at a time. So this is the moment I need to go to the gate. that's, I say, I close my PC, close my mails, and rush out. Okay?
Beautiful.
So very, very
Absolutely.
innovative and very,
Very
fresh,
classy,
very consistent
elegant.
aesthetically. So this
Yes.
is the new function that we are adding to the
Tonda.
Tonda PF. Okay.
Yes. So it is Tonda Minute Rattrapante.
Tonda Minute Rattrapante
Tonda
is
Minute
the
Rattrapante.
second world premiere that we are unveiling
Okay.
after the GMT. Then this, as I told you, this is the founder of all the collection. We started designing the collection from this watch, the micro rotor in steel and platinum. And on the platinum version, we like to play with platinum because platinum is a very interesting material. It's the most prestigious material on earth, and it is also one of the most discreet.
Sure.
So it's very Parmigiani in a sort of way, no?
Correct.
So very understated and very elegant. So we decided to do the micro rotor, which is the matrix of the collection, in platinum, and everything is discreet, everything is elegant, everything is refined at the level of quality and an exigent of a client which is extremely refined. No? So you can see the difference between the color of steel and the color of platinum. Platinum is much whiter, it reflects the light in a more brilliant way, and it's more qualitative than white gold because in after sales you can polish it, you can refurbish if you want the finishings when you
Yes.
scratch them.
Yes.
And also the dial is in platinum. It's only sandblasted treatment, so you have micro beads of ceramic that are dropping with gravity on a surface, and they are very small beads, and they can give you this very bright white finishing, but it's really platinum with nothing else. So it's like the metal is in nature.
Fabulous.
And then, following the platinum, we are adding the tourbillon. Last year we did it with the same finishing of color dial, and it was sold out. It was a limited edition. This is a Blue Milano version of it, and it's not limited because we wanted a timepiece in the assortment. So a tourbillon in our assortment. So this is a continuative reference like the Platinum Micro Rotor. And the last, but definitely not least, watch that you're going to see today is the chronograph split second that we unveiled in 2021 in platinum for the limited edition of 25 pieces that was celebrating the 25th anniversary of the company. And here we are doing 30 pieces in pink gold with a full platinum dial, same creativity, but the beauty of this piece is really on the back, because here you have a full solid gold movement, manually wired Rattrapante chronograph with column wheel. You have 2 column wheels that are regulating the chronograph function, all done by hand, all in gold. These angles that are very sharp, you can do them only by hand, otherwise you would see them round. And we can do only 3 per month in terms of pieces, and that's why we put 30 pieces in terms of quantities. And like Michelle always likes to do, when you have such a beauty on the back, you want to admire it without a blade in your eyes. So we are giving complementary alligator strap with a pin buckle, not a deployment buckle, because when you want to see the movement, you have to
Turn
open
it
it
back.
up without having a blade in between you and the movement.
But you can change this on your
No,
roll?
it's not. You have to have a tool to change
change
this.
it, right?
We don't do an speed,
Interchangeable,
no,
yeah.
because in this height, in this position, it's a little bit. There's not so much space to do something qualitative. So we don't want a function that then, when you have used it 2 or 3 times, it starts to be wobbling, and it has to be qualitative. The experience that we want to give is flawless. So you have to have a tool to change it.
So this is for the collection, and which is your favorite out of the 4 pieces that have been
Well, it's
introduced?
like if you ask me which is my favorite kid, I can't answer to that. But I am very fond of the creativity we're doing in the world premieres, because this is an exercise which is pure in the collection, pure in the way of of thinking a complication. So it's very difficult to invent something as a function. So the Minute Rattrapante is for sure the top of the fair this year. But
Totally.
I'm very in love with the platinum micro rotor. It's really
Yes, platinum
the purity of the execution is fantastic.
But platinum is also limited, or it's not
No.
limited?
These two are not limited.
Okay. Overall, Parmigiani now manufactures more than 5,000 pieces?
No, we don't disclose what we do, but it's less than 5,000.
Less than 5,000. Wow. Okay.
But it's growing.
But we are happy that you are in India. So that's something which is very encouraging and
Yeah.
heartening for us that
Yes.
Indians can also buy Parmigiani.
Yes.
So Guido, how's the exhibition been? We are almost at the end of the exhibition. Are you sold out almost with this pink gold, which is such a beautiful piece? I mean, this chronograph, split second, is not only aesthetically appealing, but it's also technically a marvel.
Thank you.
So, which piece has been well received? How's the exhibition been? Are there any observations that you would like to share with us in the watchmaking industry?
Well, the point is that this brand is really building on the last year, building on this presentation of collection, which is very consistent. So people are more and more understanding what we're doing, which is very pure, very clear, very elegant, very sophisticated, very refined, very understated. So these values are values that are picking up. And I think luxury is not about how much money you have in the bank. Luxury is much more than that. Is trying to discern and to understand the content of the watch, is the idea, how pure is the idea, how you can interest intellectually and also emotionally a customer. So the challenge is very big, and what we are receiving as a feedback is a total appreciation. I mean, all the references that we are presented are overbooked towards the production that we have, so a part of the orders that we're collecting today will be served next year, which is problem of understanding which is the size of the brand today, because last year we presented the collection that you saw last year, and the brand basically exploded in between February and April, May of last year. So we relaunched production just after Watches and Wonders, but to give you an idea, the GMT Rattrapante last year in 1 year took 7 times the demand. The demand is 7 times of what we had launched in production. So we have a waiting list, we have to fill it. So I was a bit concerned, because coming here with such a backlog of orders, maybe we would have had some difficulties in presenting other novelties. So we kept them very narrow, not so many references on purpose, and then the response was overwhelming. So we are facing again a scarcity, and this is not a strategy, because I don't believe in withholding the product. I would love to have more customers that are waiting for the watches to enjoy our watches. I'm not interested in people who are flipping the watches, who are speculating. We try to not go into this kind of clientele, and this is our partners who have to assure this. But there are clients who are waiting to receive the watch, to enjoy it, and these clients have a waiting list. We're serving them first, but we have a waiting list which is now between 10 and 14 months. And
10 and 14 months.
Yes, and we are trying to go down to 3 to 6, but it's a little bit a catch-22 kind of race, because we are increasing production, but we are also increasing the demand.
Sure. You have also interacting with your customers.
Yeah.
Okay. And whatever you tell us, the luxury is also about being discreet. People are changing their
Not
taste.
for everyone. There are people who believe
Yes.
that.
So have you noticed any change in the customer in the last 2 years?
Well, of course, Parmigiani Fleurier is putting me in contact with a crowd which is very sophisticated, and it's beautiful to have dinners with these kind of horophiles, which are watch connoisseurs, luxury connoisseurs. It's a private luxury. It's not something to show off. No?
Correct.
So that's why we took out the logo from the dial. We have this beautiful PF logo, which is enough to convey the brand, because it's a brand which is very personal for people who don't follow the flow, who are not in the mainstream of what everybody wants, and that have the education and the taste to do a choice which is personal also and qualitative. So this is what we are facing, and what is interesting to observe that there are more and more younger people who are into this, and
So you're saying the younger people are more and more who want to be discreet and not be upfront?
I think there is a very interesting trend of people who are on the edge of luxury. So people who are anticipating trends, who are looking at the more deep purchases, more profound, more meaningful. So probably they would invest a little bit more in a timepiece or in another object, but with a longer lasting pleasure. Now, so to endure the pleasure and to not hectically consume, which is more of a fashion victim kind of approach. So it's a more meaningful experience, and the pandemic has accelerated this, in my opinion. People has much more information on independent brands, on brands that have a singularity which is different from a big institutional brand that has to sell a lot of watches. So it's a counter trend on the converging trends that you see in the industry. So when the industry becomes so big, it becomes also mainstream, and the taste of a bigger part of the population is converging on fewer watches and fewer brands. But this origins a counter trend on a more sophisticated crowd that is looking for a differentiation of this.
So there are two things that I would like to share, Guido. Just being few days here at the exhibition, there is a lot of consolidation happening, and that convergence that you're talking about, it's also for the brands. They're showing fewer references, lesser references. It's very focused. So what you're saying is indeed I would say coinciding with the customers, the way customers are moving. But younger customers are also, that you mentioned, that they are digitally savvy, they have information, but other than that they are also very conscious. They are conscious towards sustainability. Do you come across that
of course
also?
I think
so what do we do for sustainability when it comes to the watches?
Well, the traceability of gold, for instance, is traceable, so it's ethical. Platinum the same. Since the arrival of the PF, this is an obligation that I gave to the company. So this year's production will be totally ethical, and this is important. And it's something that you have to do. You have to comply, because it's like quality in the 90s. At a certain point, it is a must, and people give it for granted, and you have to be compliant to that. So the traceability of our metals is for sure important.
You are interacting with your customers, and we again go back to the customer's point. You must be also interacting with women customers. Do you find that women audience are demanding more and more complicated watches?
I don't think complications. We don't see that yet. We were awarded for the best ladies watch in Geneva last year with the Tonda PF in 36mm in gold and baguette diamonds, which are invisible settings that are basically you don't see any metal that holds the stone, and the stone is designing the shape of the index of the Tonda PF. So this was completely innovative, never been done before. You slide the baguette into the dial, and you don't need a structure to hold it. So it's almost floating in the dial. And the color that we chose was a deep ruby, very, very Parmigiani, very subtle, very elegant, very long-lasting. But it is a watch that is born from Tonda PF, designed for men. And the idea came because last year, in 2021, when we unveiled the micro rotor in 40mm, which has a very flexible bracelet, very comfortable. It fits the wrist, which is also smaller, and women put it on and said, I would wear this. And some of them said, if it were slightly smaller. So we decided to do a 36mm. And this was completely well received. But the funny thing is that when men saw that 36 millimeter in steel, or they said, well, I would wear this, because 36 is a vintage size for men, and to do a vintage size with a contemporary watch is very edgy. And there are certain customers who are going back to the sizes of our fathers, and this is happening. So everybody has his own personal taste, and it's interesting to see that the gender nuances are blurred in a certain way.
Sure,
You know? So
sure.
it's much more in the time that we live.
Yeah, it's more inclusive,
Yeah.
I may say so. When it comes to India, what can India expect now from Parmigiani?
Well, with our partner Ethos, we have renewed our agreement. So we are going to ship again to India this year, and I think Indians, the community in India is extremely capable of understanding a refinement and a design which is so high-end in the experience. So I'm very curious to see the acceptance of when the product will reach the customer in India, and feel the feedbacks from that.
Fabulous, Guido. I mean, thank you for your time, and we wish better heights, more success stories when it comes to Parmigiani. Thank you, Guido. Thank you so much.
Thank you.